Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to Season 3 of the Outdoor Biz podcast, recorded at the Surf City Studios in Costa Mesa, California. I have another great season of interviews with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks and hacks, and ideas you can use to take your career business to the next level. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. So much goodness in this wide-ranging conversation with Angela Hook from Stunt Puppy. If you're new to the outdoor biz or have a great idea you want to turn into a brand, this is a must-listen episode. Angela brings it big time. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Well, thank you for having me on this beautiful Monday morning.
Yeah, fabulous Monday. You say you're up in Park City. It must be beautiful up there today.
It is beautiful. I am in denial that maybe summer is coming to a close. The mornings are getting cooler and the evenings are getting cooler, which isn't a bad thing. It has been extremely hot. And our first experience of a desert summer. So it's been interesting.
Well, and have you lived in the snow before? That'll be interesting for you too.
Well, we had a half a season of winter when we arrived in December. We became a lot more familiar with all of the paraphernalia that goes with living in the snow. So There you go. It's exciting. A whole industry. Yeah,
oh, no kidding. Yeah, it is. It's a few industries actually.
Yeah, although we're still waiting on the moose interaction. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, you've got to be careful of the moose, but they're very, very elusive to us, or maybe we're just repellent. I don't know.
Yeah, but, they're pretty elusive. Yeah, they're fun to see though. They're huge animals, amazing.
Yeah, apparently I don't want to come across one on the track, so maybe I just be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, there you go. So, how did you get excited about the outdoors?
Well, growing up in New Zealand, you've really only got two choices. You have to embrace it, or you have to just kind of become a recluse, because you literally cannot avoid the outdoors in New Zealand, which is where beautiful. I grew up.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of outdoors in that it's right on your doorstep. Like you literally, even our big cities are kind of in the wilderness. Oh, cool. There's just nobody there. Yeah. We all grow up, barefoot and climbing trees. That was how I grew up in New Zealand. And I think maybe romantically it's still like that. So it was pretty unavoidable that we would have an affinity with simply being outside. I wouldn't consider myself an outdoors woman by the standards of some of the people I've met here. but my real introduction was actually through horses. I rode horses for my entire childhood, right up until I was at university. And we would go literally days out.
Nice. So like horsebacking. That's awesome.
Yeah. Very unsophisticated. And I'm sure that parents would be horrified that we would take off on our horses through a national forest for a weekend and just be there. But that's just what we did. And New Zealand was such a safe place to grow up, not just from the fact we don't have bears or snakes or anything bigger than kind of an ant that could do any damage. We just lived in this really easy environment to access the outdoors, and I'm very grateful for that now. I think it's a wonderful way to be raised.
Yeah, what a great way to grow up. That sounds fabulous. I'll have to come visit sometime. So
please do.
Yeah, that'd be great. Have you had a traditional outdoor-related job? Did you work in retail or anything like that?
Yes, I did my time. Isn't retail a humbling place to be?
It is, and it's a great place to learn so many things, isn't
it? It is, and so I guess that I did have a job in a small specialty outdoor store when I was at university. But in terms of, I was thinking really it was just a summer job that happened to be in an outdoor store. But my real experience, I was thinking about this question before, and it was, I'm a researcher by trade. Okay. I couldn't be further. I'm literally a desk jockey. I figure out stuff. And I think that has actually been a really great skill to have sitting in the background of everything that we've done with Stunt Puppy.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Because, so and somebody once said to me, sometimes it's really good to have diverse knowledge. So, even if it's a mile wide and an inch deep, that's actually a really good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so the research side, as I have become more into the outdoors, has actually helped me more or as much as the being at the coal face of that retail experience, and having to stand in front of someone and justify, a $400 pair of boots.
Right. Or
Which
$500 jacket. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a skill, and you have to believe. You really have to believe in it. And interestingly, one of the Stunt Puppy projects is called the Stunt Puppy Rover, and we have this Airstream base camp that we travel around in, and it's literally a pop-up store. Yeah, it's literally a pop-up store. So we are out there. Yeah, so we're out there at surf dog competitions, and we're at a mountain biking event in a couple of weeks, and we're back on the ground again at the coalface. How does this fit? How does this work? Right. Oh, that doesn't work. Or what's that question that people have, and how do we answer that? So I really think that whole idea of constantly learning from traditional and non-traditional areas is actually probably the best thing that's accidentally happened to me in my life, is that it just happens to have kind of come together. So
that's very good. So you're right in touch with your consumer. That's a good spot to be. You're right. I think so many brands these days. Years ago, I was making a presentation to somebody, and he was commenting on how the whole industry is actually an inverted diamond sitting on the point, right? Because the point is the low retail. That's the lowest common denominator. The lowest paid person. The lowest. Sometimes the not best trained person, and they're the ones who have to execute the sale. And it's really this whole industry is balancing on the tip of retail. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big questions we had, and I know we'll talk about it later, but was how do we, from this niche category that's totally new and all of that kind of stuff, how do we actually even get retailers to take us seriously? Right. And we really struggled. It was really hard. And we couldn't understand why they couldn't see, turn those 2 legs walking into your store into 6. Right. Because so many of those people walking into your store have a dog. They can't buy the kind of stuff for their dogs that they can buy for themselves. Right. I know from my other world of consumer research, which is what I do, is that people's dogs are extensions of themselves. People buy not just for function, but for the idea that these brands and these products project. Yep. So why can you not get this? It was one thing was convincing consumers. They're actually kind of easy, but convincing retailers was really hard.
Right. That's the challenge, exactly.
It was, yeah. And you're right. A really undervalued resource, I think, in the people on the ground. Mm-hmm. And you find somebody who's a great salesperson, and you have, I had an experience in a jeans store actually in Chicago, and he just got me as an individual and sold me more diesel gear than I could ever have needed in my whole life. Right. But he understood me and where I was coming from, and he cut right through all of the other stuff and got right to what I needed, and it was,
that's a good
it was
point.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
So what was the diamond?
Yeah, exactly. Under upside down diamond. What was the inspiration for Stunt Puppy? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so Stunt Puppy itself is actually 2 companies that have just joined together, but both of them started on opposite sides of the world with exactly the same inspiration, our dogs. So out there in New Zealand, where I was, I had a beautiful thermally fragile Ridgeback called Jack, and our company was literally built by this dog. We moved to a mountain town. He would go 21 hours without going outside because he hated the cold. And I went online and I bought jackets, and I had to bring them in from the United States. There was nothing, in his size, because he was 115 pounds. Yeah,
big dog.
And I was basically buying him horse covers, and I looked at them when they arrived, and they were horrible. I mean, it was like, I wouldn't wear it, so why would my dog? Mm-hmm. And by wonderful fortune, my sister-in-law was a designer for a New Zealand outdoor company. And I just said to her, hey, could you make Jack a jacket? And so she asked for some measurements, and she sent back this great, it was made of New Zealand merino that she'd had left over from making something else. We called it the Ice Barker as a homage to the great icebreaker.
The icebreaker,
And
I love it.
yeah, still called the Ice Barker, trademark.
Oh, very cool.
But so he wore this jacket, and people would stop us. We lived in Lake Wanaka, which is a mountain town, resorty, lots of tourists, and people would stop us in the street and go, where did you get that beautiful jacket for your dog? And so then the researcher in me kind of clicked in, and I was like, hang on a minute, there might be something here.
Yeah.
So that's all going on in New Zealand. Meanwhile, in the United States, Ken Goldman from out in Minneapolis was working in hospitals with his golden retriever called Bauer. And he was really struggling to find a leash that could be hands-free while he was doing the therapy work with Bauer in these hospitals. And everything was really clumsy and got tangled, and so he built his own, and he built it in his basement with an old Bartek machine that he bought on eBay. That thing, he still got it, and it terrifies me to this day. And I have nightmares about the Bartek machine. And
you Bartek to the couch or something?
That thing, it comes to life. We still joke about my vivid dreams of the Bartek. And he started Stunt Puppy based off this hands-free idea of this, which became the Stunt Runner leash. And he's grown that company just by being really fun, really functional, really well thought out, and with the same kind of attention to detail that we were doing in the jackets and outerwear in New Zealand. So we started to grow in New Zealand based off our thermally fragile Ridgeback. We joined up with the Avalanche dogs there and learned a huge amount about how the true outdoor dogs were using gear. And we built the Deefer dog range in New Zealand, and Ken was building the Stunt Puppy range of leashes and collars in the States. And we met at Outdoor Retailer as competitors, effectively. Somebody actually came up to me and said, there's a guy at the show who's stolen your brand. The brands were so similar. We never knew each other, but the brands, we were engineered for dogs. They were built from the dog up. There were so many similarities. So we kind of became friends. It's much easier to be friends than it is to be enemies. And we started to collaborate pretty much right off the bat, because our product lines really didn't overlap much, but the brands did. And I think somewhere in the back of our minds, 8-9 years ago, we were going, I think probably one day we'll get married.
Wow.
So we did.
Wow, so we did. You guys.
So Stunt Puppy and Deefer Dogs joined late last year, and we're just now beginning to roll out the actual product that is cool. Now all Stunt Puppy brand. Oh, it's great fun, and it's a rock and roll lifestyle, I tell you.
When was your meeting at which outdoor retailer show? Was it a few years ago?
2010 was the first year that we met.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, and you've been coming to Outdoor Retailer ever since, or you just went to that?
Well, we walked a show, and then we did 3 or 4 years of coming over. Wildly expensive from New Zealand.
I can imagine.
It was, and as I mentioned, we were chipping away at this retail. How do we tell retailers about this? And it was like there just wasn't enough critical mass for our category to be taken seriously. Roughly's out there. Gosh, you've got to hand it to them. They've done an amazing job of creating that category on their own. And they absolutely own it, and full proper respect for that. But I think to be taken seriously, you kind of need some other brands in the category that give the people who are selling the product a point of reference.
They give a little legitimacy too. Yeah,
exactly. You can choose from this, or there is this that is the similar product but has a different functionality, and then there's a conversation rather than just, I want a life jacket for my dog. Good, here you go. This one's $30 and has no foam in it, and this one's $70 and is slightly better, but not really that much. And I can't tell you why. So pick one. It's not really a conversation you can have with a customer when it's there isn't there's no story to tell. So
it really is a micro niche category. It's pretty tiny. There's only maybe 10 brands that are in it. Is it that way? I'm assuming it's that way in New Zealand as well. Did you start with retailers right away in the US, or how long did that take?
Yeah, so we started being our own best retailer at the start. So we went straight online. Perfect, and that's still a massive part of who we are for a number of different reasons, driven from the category side, the consumer side, and also the cost side. So there's a lot of reasons for that. So we didn't go straight into retail over here, where there were some smaller retailers, but what we found was they might carry one product and not the full size range. So they were, and so it was like, and then we said, well, what if we merchandised it for you, and sort of followed a little bit of what Icebreaker did with the Touch Lab and said, store within a store.
Sure.
But, to get the square footage for that, and then, if we were so far away, we couldn't be on the ground really being
tough.
It was super tough. So part of the brand story was, well, we do have to connect directly with our consumers in whatever way that we can. So we will be our own best retailer. And I think, when we look at our statistics of Shopify and things like that, the repeat rate for us is really high on different products. So people come and they buy a life jacket, and then they're back to buy a leash within a month. So in some
ways you're fortunate that the category is not full of a bunch of brands, because it probably lends consumers to be more loyal to you guys, because there's not a lot of options.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, because it's such a neophyte category, people have a lot of questions and so they want to have a conversation with you. So, I mean, my inbox is just overwhelmed with the stories of people's stock, and I love it. I love getting, hi, I've got a Dachshund Chihuahua German Shepherd mix, and I'm unsure what size jacket to put it in. And I'm like, I just want to see a photograph of this dog. So I guess that because it is such a young category, and people too are feeling their way into it and going, I never really thought of that my dog couldn't swim from my boat if it fell overboard, and how on earth would I get it back in anyway? So we do get to have those conversations, and I'm sure that if the accountant was looking at it, they go, Angela, you're spending far too much time talking to people about their dogs and setting them up. And I'm like, well, I don't think I am.
You can't spend too much time. Yeah, that's not.
This is the whole point. So,
exactly.
So the accountant, sometimes the accountants and I have a little bit of a disagreement on that kind of stuff. But I stick to my guns, because as I said, in my other job as a researcher, and I was working for some really big companies, and the big thing is they have absolutely no idea what people's lives are actually like. I was working for food companies, and I'm just like, you really think people care about this? They don't know.
We've lost that as retail has struggled, and we've lost so many retail locations and whatnot. That's, I think, one of the reasons why retail struggled, is because we quit taking time to service the customer. So it's funny, my sister, little anecdote here. My sister has a little dog. He's a rescue dog, boxer, and I think he's a pit bull mix. Cute little guy, hairless. He grew up in Southern California. They moved to Seattle. She immediately had to buy him a fleece jacket because he wouldn't go outside to pee. I'm sure you get a lot of that.
Yeah, we do. And, I keep saying to people, it's only fur, it's like, and they wear it all year. It can't do all the, we think it's this, if fur was that amazing, then we would have found a way to manufacture fur and wear it ourselves. It doesn't make you visible at night. It doesn't keep you warm when it's freezing cold. It doesn't keep you cool when it's boiling hot. It's got its limits. It certainly doesn't make you invincible in the water. So, the kind of things we're asking our dogs to do and thinking that their fur will take care of it is kind of weird.
Yeah,
so yeah.
No,
so
Milo loves to sleep in the sun since he's left Southern California. So so how did you guys, what are you doing to overcome the cute factor and position you as a more technical brand? Because really that's what you guys do, right? And if you compare your products to all the stuff you find at the local pet shop, it's way ahead of the game, probably way more expensive, but way more valuable.
Yeah. So the first thing is you probably won't find us in a pet store. We actually made a really clear decision that we were an outdoor brand for dogs. We were not a pet brand for the outdoors.
Great. Yep.
So we always came at it from that point, and that was literally the big decision. We went to one global pet expo trade show, and at that show we made that decision, and we have never wavered from it.
Yeah, good for you.
You won't generally find us in a pet store. The second thing was we accepted the cute compliment with grace because because it is actually a really good starting point. And some of the gear is actually really cute. A Chihuahua in a life jacket is actually a really,
well, that's
really,
the way Milo is. He's a little tiny guy. You put that jacket on him, he's got that boxer badass look. It's like, oh man, look at this dude. That's
so
great.
I think, be gracious about the first kind of impression that you make. And somebody once said to me, just don't use the word but. You go yes and yes, it is
great
cute
advice.
And so yes and so we became very adept at accepting the cute compliment, and then going, if it was a retailer we were talking to, it was, and you know what, there is a lot of people in the outdoor industry who buy this kind of stuff for themselves but cannot buy it for their dog. And they do, and they would if it was more accessible to them.
Right,
so that was one story. So yes, it is cute, and there are a bucket load of people out there who don't even know that they want this stuff yet.
Right.
And then there was, and at the consumer side, it was very much yes and then starting from not the really technical side, but the easiest entry point for them based on the dog they were talking about. So if somebody came to us with a boxer and we go, oh yeah, they go, that's really cute, and we're like, yes. And the good thing about it is because your dog's got a really deep chest, the way these jackets are cut is designed to accommodate that without having to get bigger and bulkier accommodate their girth. So we were able to go, yes, and here's a feature, rather than launching in with some technical thing that people were just like, whoa. It was a big leap. So we kind of stepped people through. And I guess the last thing we did was, and I have to take my hat off to, there's a guy by the name of Matt Gunn who runs the Aspiring Avalanche Dogs in New Zealand. And we connected with him. We lived in the same town. And just being around guys like that who run these avalanche dogs in the backcountry of New Zealand, tough conditions, tough on gear,
extreme conditions,
really, and high expectations. So things like just talking to him about having the dogs out on the World Heli Ski Challenge and what the dogs faced up there, and we're like, wow, there's a real idea in there that we need to capture around the puff doggy. Super light, super packable, really warm. The dogs can move in it or sleep in it. It's got to be damp resistant. All of these kind of characteristics. And so really surrounding, someone said to me once, you won't soar like an eagle if you surround yourself with turkeys. So we kind of surround ourselves with eagles. And Matt is one of those guys, and they keep us really honest about not falling to the cute trap, not going, oh, we could do a pink, we could, but we don't. So associating yourself with those people who really challenge you technically, attention to detail at the kind of the final end, every stitch, every buckle has to kind of be right, and being gracious about the cute. That's and smart. Using
That's
that
smart.
as a springboard to something
Well, you've
else.
got some great advice. Did you have any other mentors along the way?
Look, I did. I've had some wonderful ones, and probably within the outdoor space, it is people like Matt Gunn. He's absolutely amazing. My brother is incredible, and my sister-in-law also. They both really high-level whitewater kayakers. And my brother runs an outdoor leadership program in New Zealand. And so again, both of them, both from a design and from an industry perspective, have been really amazing.
What's the name of his leadership program? Sorry.
So he works for the Taipotini Polytechnic in New Zealand, which is in Greymouth. Yeah. And he's actually in the States right now. They do some work with the Wharton Business School. And they take their final year students out to New Zealand and basically get them lost in New Zealand for 4 days. Kind of not technically lost, but they think they're lost. But
they think they're lost.
They think they're lost. But yeah, and David's he's just an incredible human being, and I'm very lucky to have him as a brother. But probably the one that always sticks in my mind, and he has since passed, his name was Alan McConnon. He was a mountain of a man, and he owned a cheese company. He started his cheese company buying 10-kilo blocks of cheddar cheese and chopping it up into 500-gram blocks of cheddar cheese and selling it in smaller blocks, because he figured out that nobody wanted 10 kilos of cheese at a time. So that was how his whole business started.
Wow.
And so Alan was just a really smart guy. And, he said to me, Ange, said, don't worry, because I like organization. And I would always be like, Al, I just need to get my ducks in a row. And he's like, forget the ducks, Ange. And he put a few swear words in there as well. He told it like it was. Just forget about the ducks. They're never going to get in a row. There'll always be one. There'll always be one that's off wandering to the side. So just kind of keep the ducks kind of moving forward. Don't worry if they're in a line or not, as long as they're moving forward.
Great advice. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And his second piece was, and this was actually the mission at Mainland, which was his cheese company, have fun, make money, in that order. And, he said, awesome. Have fun, make money. And he did very well at both. He also said to me once, Ange, there's a rule of 4 in any business that you start. And I'm like, Al, what's the rule of 4? He said, well, it's everything you do is going to take you 4 times as long, cost you 4 times as much, and get you a quarter of what you thought it would in the first 4 years that you thought it would. So he was kind of like, just divide everything, multiply everything bad by 4, and everything good has to be divided by 4. Yeah. So because that's just the rule of 4. But he said that, and that's just how it works. So don't be freaked out when it's not going as fast as you want, or things are taking longer than they should. That is just what
that's sage advice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. He was an awesome
what
man.
What was the name of his cheese company again?
He started a cheese company called Mainland Cheese.
Gotcha. Down there in New Zealand?
Down in New Zealand, they then bolted a whole pile of businesses onto that. They did bacon, they did soup, they did a whole dairy kind of thing. And when the big dairy company formed in New Zealand, they became kind of enveloped into that. And Alan retired from the cheese world and started doing a whole pile of other fun projects. So,
cool.
Taken too soon from us, though. It was not. It was.
That's not good. Yeah, it's a great.
No, it's not good.
You got some great time with them. That's awesome.
I certainly did. Yeah. Many a Mount Difficulty Pinot Noir and a curry, and there was and he was the first one that said to me about the whole dogs thing. He said, "Ange, it might just be crazy enough to work." That was his comment. He was like, "I think it might just be crazy enough to work."
Well, he was right.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. Tell us about any nonprofit work you guys do. Do you work with any nonprofits?
Yeah, so back in New Zealand, again, this is kind of new for us because the company has just joined together. So back in New Zealand, the nonprofit thing is really, it's not as structured as it is here. Okay. And so it's far more on a local level. So the avalanche dogs and what they do and land search and rescue is a big part of kind of what we do as well. So they're all volunteers. So we help them out fundraising. I was on the committee for them for when they were building the avalanche kind of aspiring avalanche dogs brand. we support them in any way we can. We try and get them as much gear as we can for as little as we can. So there's that side of things. I'm a big dog lover, obviously, and the whole rescue movements. But what we've really found is that there are lots of very small rescue movements that do amazing work, but they don't get the same funding. They don't have the same funding structures. They're small like us. So we work, somebody will ask us if we will participate, and we pretty much always say yes.
That's great.
I've just opened myself for an avalanche of requests now. But, if people are doing good stuff and they are genuine about it, then we will support them however we can.
Yeah, small localized groups.
On a very on a very grassroots level. And similar, Ken does rescue dogs in Minneapolis where he is. They have a leash and collar program so that dogs go out with a good leash and a good collar when they leave. And so but it's all done on a very grassroots kind of level. So
that's sometimes more impactful though. That's great. Yeah.
Well, it's genuine, and I think we can't. Therefore, we don't just throw money at it and put a label on it and call it green.
Well, and what you're doing is getting right to the source. Sometimes some of these large groups, we all donate and support, but you wonder, is that really going? Where's that end up at the end of the day?
Yeah. And I wonder if it's just part of our whole maybe it's a Kiwi thing, our whole coalface mentality. It's like, just get in and do the work. You can't just sit back. When you live in the bottom corner of the world and people think maybe you're off the coast of Japan, but not quite sure, but all want to go there one day because they want to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And it's like, well, you'll need to go to Australia for that, but you can come to New Zealand while you're there. I think we do have a really just get in amongst it mentality, and I guess it flows through into almost everything that we do.
No, that's true.
So yeah.
So Park City, what other outdoor activities do you guys do? You must ski, hike.
Yes. Well, hiking every day. We live right on Toll Canyon, so I'm out with sometimes up to 10 dogs at a time up into Toll Canyon. Yep. I moonlight as a dog walker occasionally. Well, actually quite a lot, which I love. And gosh, that's a good learning experience as well. So, as I said
that's great
before,
product testing opportunities.
It is, yeah. There's two products that are being heavily kind of developed at the moment. Really simple products, but it's amazing how much you can finesse something when you have 10 dogs at once to test it on and you're carrying it for 4 hours. And, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on. And, so I walk and hike a lot. With Mark, my husband, and I, we both ski here as well. We were very disappointed in last year's season. We were, it was not the best to kind of start with. But we're looking forward to this winter. I'm very much a bluebird skier. I like clear skies and fluffy snow. So that Mark's a little more intrepid than I am. Stand-up paddleboarding is something that we've got really into, probably quite in its early days. And we've actually just started a partnership with Red Air Paddleboards, or the Red Paddle Company. Their boards are amazing for taking the dogs out because they're a really firm inflatable board, super durable. And so even we've got our 110-pound Ridgeback on the front of the paddleboard heading across Smith Morehouse Reservoir. It's quite the sight. And so we stand up paddleboarding, and we'll just try anything once except folk dancing.
Great.
I mean, really, we want to make the most of it while we're here, and we've just got access to such cool stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So excuse me, in your experience coming over here and starting in such a micro niche category, do you have any advice for someone wanting either to get into the business, or if they're already in the outdoor business, to grow their career?
Well, I think be adaptable is probably but that goes across absolutely anything. Yeah, you need to be kind of open to the things that will go wrong that will teach you how to do it right. And I'm not very good at not being in control. Like, I'm very type A kind of personality. And I think that stands you in really good stead for developing a career anywhere, because it will give you drive and it will give you determination. but you have to develop your type B, which is that openness, adaptability, collaborate. You don't have to do it all yourself. Ask for help, because there are so many people who will help you.
Yeah.
And the outdoor industry is my experience of it has been a very generous industry with its advice, with its sharing of things. And so be open, be collaborative, ask for help, follow the rule of 4 so you don't get disheartened.
Yeah, I like that.
It was funny because when I was thinking about the not-for-profit, and I'm like, well, I'm effectively a not-for-profit, but it's
we all are at the beginning, right?
We're all not-for-profit.
Yeah.
But I think also take a long-term view on some things, and don't be afraid. And I'm not going to share it because it's kind of a silent goal, which I know is not what goals are meant to be, because you have to articulate them. But
I think sometimes it's good to have things that are a little, keep it in your pocket. I like that.
Keep it in my pocket. And I think I have that. And when things aren't going as well or as fast or as easy as I would like them to be, it's just like, Angela, pull yourself together, do the work, and remember what this is for. And I think that's just a mental discipline that probably everyone who's successful probably at some point in their life has done that, even though they didn't know they were doing it at the time.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of mindful of, pull yourself together, do the work, and remember why you're doing it. And that comes,
keep your head down, keep going, suck it up. I love that.
Yeah. And it will be fun. I mean, it still is. Even in our darkest hours, it is still fun. It's hard to get disheartened in the category we're in, because
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, you guys got little fun puppies, dogs running around. I mean, how could that not be fun? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So so every day is different, and it's good, but it's not always going to be easy.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have any favorite books?
I could go on for hours about this. I could have my own Angie's book club.
Love it.
Okay, so my first one for recreation, but don't read it on a plane, because people will think they're sitting next to an emotional disaster, is called The Art of Racing in the Rain. And it is the most beautiful story of a dog's life, of a person's life, is told through the eyes of his dog Enzo. And it is
cool.
You'll be weeping at page 2, and then you'll laugh your way through the whole thing. It's like having bipolar disorder in a book. It's cool. Like you're up and down like a yo-yo, but it is just the most beautiful read, and it's so beautifully written. And it's called The Art of Racing in the Rain.
Excellent.
And the second book that I love, and there's 2 of them in the series, it's called The Tao of Pooh and The Tale of Piglet. And it's basically ancient wisdom as told through the stories of Winnie the Pooh.
I've heard of that one. And
it is absolutely delightful. It was well ahead of its time. I think I got given that book back in the 1980s. Wow. And I think of it, I think now is its time. I mean, all the mindfulness generation and all this kind of stuff, but such a beautiful analogy that they make to teach the philosophies. And the last one, and it's called Every Bastard Says No. And it's the story of the 42 Below Vodka Company out of New Zealand. And it tells the story of this guy, Jeff Ross, who worked for Saatchi & Saatchi ad agency in New Zealand, and his friend setting up a still in their garage in Wellington and starting to make vodka. And all of the time, people are just like, oh, how crazy, a couple of Kiwis making vodka, it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
All the time. And as the book unfolds, you realize they did have a lot of fun, and it was a curiosity for them, and it was a hobby that they turned into something greater. But as you read through the book, and it comes back to what I was saying before about do the work and remember why you're there and have fun along the way. And you can see this unfold through the book. And they eventually sold the brand. I don't think they ever turned a profit, but they sold the brand to the Bacardi company for $180-something million.
I think they made a profit there.
Yeah, so they did. And the whole time the things they did with guerrilla marketing were absolutely inspired. But the book is entitled because every time they tried to do something, someone would say no. So they'd go to get money and the bank would say no. They'd go to get a distributor in somewhere and they would say no. They tried to get New Zealand Feijoa vodka into the United States and the FDA said no because they wouldn't acknowledge Feijoa as a fruit. And so it was kind of, even though it grows on a tree and it is a fruit. So it was like this whole book is really about, well, people will just keep telling you no, but don't just find a way around it. And
those are great.
The way, so Every Bastard Says No, the story of 42 Below vodka.
We'll link to all those. Yeah, that's cool. I'll have to pick up a couple of those. They sound inspiring.
Yeah, they are.
Do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Well, this is a tough one for me because I want to say my own product.
You can.
Okay, so for me, it's the Gandhi dog leash, which is one that we made out in New Zealand.
Cool.
And so it's called Gandhi because it kind of promotes peaceful walking.
Great. We'll link to that in the show notes for sure. Yeah.
So they are, I always love it because I know that if I'm wearing that, I've got the dog somewhere with me. I wear it more than he does. Because there is nothing more than I love than being outside with my dog. Like there is something about walking along, and often it's crazy. There might be loads of them, but when it's just him and I, and we're walking through those trees just and chilling, it's just, it is so therapeutic. And anyway, so this Gandhi leash, it's kind of symbolizes, it's got its little pocket and I've got my poop bag so that I know that I'm a responsible dog owner. I've got a little ID in there with Mark's contact details so that if I go tits off a trail or get run over by a moose, then they're not going to have to put my face on a milk carton. They're going to know who I am. I know that if I need to, then, Reacher's on that lead and he's connected to me.
Great.
So that leash kind of says, it's just you and I, bud, out in the outdoors. And so that's my favorite piece of outdoor gear for under $100.
Love it. Cool. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes. That sounds great. Everybody's got to get one of those. Yeah. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners or ask of our listeners?
I just think, just remember that your dog is still flesh and blood. And so by all means, get out and have fun with them and enjoy their company and the outdoors and take them on adventures. But remember their limits. And I think that is the one thing.
That's good.
Just remember their limits. They can't, even your Labrador cannot swim forever. So if you want to take it out on your boat or your paddleboard or your raft or whatever, just remember that that's a really foreign environment for a dog, and there's different energy. They too panic. They become anxious. So just being really mindful of the expectations we're putting on our dogs to enjoy the same things that we do, and just making sure that they are both emotionally safe, as in don't freak them out.
That's great.
And also physically safe. If you're out at night, put something reflective on them. Even if it's just a collar, but put something reflective on at night. Keep them warm in the winter. Don't run them in midday in the heat of the Phoenix summer. Just don't be a dick to your dog. But
that's good. That'd be a good T-shirt. You guys ought to make that T-shirt.
Well, that's the next thing. I was talking about that with someone last night, actually, the things that we would write on T-shirts. And one of them was, just do the work. Enough of this good vibe, kind of, it'll all happen, just believe. It's like, do the work.
That's great. And how can people reach out to you if they want to follow up with questions?
Yeah, so my inbox is always open to you. Stuntpuppy.com is our official website. You can find us on Instagram on two feeds, actually. One is at DFADogs, DFADOGS. And the other is at Stunt Puppy. And you can also email me through the contact us on the website.
Great.
So,
we'll link to all those in the show notes.
I'm too busy walking my dog to be on Twitter.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. And we went to a Luke Nelson concert on Saturday night, and he's just written this great new song called "Turn Off the News." And I was, as I was listening to it, I was thinking I was ahead of that, because I am professionally involved in these kind of social network things, but I'm very much a turn off the news every now and again kind of girl.
Same way. Yeah, I do all the social networks for the podcast, and that's almost about it. So yeah.
I mean, Instagram is definitely my favorite. I like the nature of Instagram.
Good. Well, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes, and I'm sure people will follow up and hopefully spend some money on your website.
Well, look, and hopefully I haven't offended anyone.
No, I don't think so. This is it's a pretty tough crowd to offend. That's what makes the outdoor industry so great, I think. We're so collaborative and so, teamwork oriented and growth oriented, and everybody's fun. So that's awesome. Well, it's great to catch up with you. I appreciate the time. I got to thank Shannon for introducing us, Shannon Walton. Thank you very much.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
she cooked me fish tacos last night too.
Nice, very good. Well, tell her I said hi next time you see her.
Yeah,
give her a big hug.
Yeah, I will do. I'll fight Todd to give her a hug.
There you go. Well, thanks, Angela. It's been great.
Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Talk
bye.
soon. Yep, bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Was I right? So much information in this episode with Angela Hook. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow up with Angela at stuntpuppy.com and by email at contact@stuntpuppy.com. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 128. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos, blogs, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the links to the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. And be sure to make time to get outside and take someone with you.